I'm Angela Luna, the host today, and I am here live at the Student Union for Student Media Day. And I'm here with Sarah. How are you doing today, girl?
I'm doing good, just a little sick. Could be better.
Good, at least you don't have the flu, right?
Yeah, I always hope I don't.
Good, make sure y'all are taking those vitamins. Vitamin C is awesome right now. So Sarah is actually one of the reporters for the Missourian here on campus, and she wrote an awesome story called Horror Podcasts Offer Quality Scares, so check it out. So the story was about two freshmen here on campus. They started this podcast called The Right Wrong Turn. So you want to give me a little information about that?
So The Right Wrong Turn's just a podcast. It's about an hour long. They plan on doing weekly updates, so about Friday or Saturday they should have it out depending on how editing goes. And like the two freshmen I talked to were Mason Arnold and Tyler Bears. They were great people to talk to, great personalities. And their podcast actually, it's really interesting because they talk about paranormal witness stories, and then they'll also talk about true crime stories, which goes more into like local stories too. They try to keep it within like 4 regions like Missouri, Nebraska, Iowa, and Kansas too.
Oh, awesome. So are they from, you said they commute about 20 minutes to campus each day?
Yeah.
So where are they from originally? Is that Savannah area, I'm guessing?
I know one of them's from Burlington Junction, I believe, and I don't know where Mason Arnold is from. I just know, I know that they both commute though, which is kind of like really interesting, I guess, because you think everybody's on campus. But actually, them commuting really helped them because they're not paying for living on campus. So in my story, I actually mentioned that they spent $400 on some sound equipment. And that was one person buying the equipment that they needed, along with they were able to use there was like a media lab down in the basement, and that's what they used for most of the equipment. There were a few missing pieces, so they went and bought like $400 worth of stuff. But it actually helped that they don't have to like go out for like they don't live on campus. So that money was just directed towards something that productive, their own like podcast. So they didn't mind spending the money actually.
Oh, absolutely. That definitely not living on campus really saves a lot. Trust me, I know from experience, and I'm sure you do as well. So,
yeah.
Now, what was cool, I really liked them talking about how they just started in a smaller town and they hope to be. They talked about they want to see Tom Cruise someday. I like that little bit in the story that they added that. It shows their character.
Yeah, no, they were like when I added that quote in, it was just because like I wanted people to get a sense of their personality from more than just what I was saying. So I added their own quotes that I got from the interview, and I just thought that showcased their personality so well. I mean, you have Arnold, who was just automatically just like, oh, we're shooting for the stars, we want to be on Pandora and Spotify. And then, like, immediately Bears comes in with, we are stars. And I'm just like, that's just a perfect line for them. It just shows how much, like, these guys are willing to put in the effort and the time. And they were, they were super fast about getting back to me. They were excited about everything for the podcast because they had advertised it a little bit in the newspaper before with ads. And they got a lot of help from Offit, and they got help from Alex Cook and Stephen Chappell. They were very willing to talk to a lot of people, and so when I contacted them, they were kind of like, what? This is really happening. We have to get a podcast out now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for telling me a lot about your story, and everyone check out The Right Wrong Turn. And we're going to take a quick little break, so don't change the dial. We'll be back. Welcome back to Story Behind the Story on KZLX and KNWT Channel 8. I'm your host, Angela Luna, and I have an awesome guest here with me. Chief reporter Abby Hugo is here in the house on the Student Media Day here in the Student Union. How are you doing, Abby?
Great.
Good. So Abby wrote a story about the new bill will give voice to student journalists, about there's the Walker Cronkite New Voices Act that will be possibly passed for the third time. Do you want to give us a little information about that?
Yeah, so I wrote about the Walter Cronkite New Voices Act, which is up to Missouri legislator for the 3rd year now because it hasn't been passed in the past years. But it pretty much will just help protect the First Amendment rights of high school and college student journalists and protect against like censorship from the administration or like retaliation from administration.
Okay. So yeah, now did they say what happened and how come it didn't pass previously? Was it
Pretty much it's just been because of dysfunction in the Senate, but they haven't really received any opposition. It's just run over this.
Gotcha. Now, at this point, they're still waiting a vote at the Missouri House of Representatives. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, can you give me a little more information about that? Like, what do you think? How is this going to affect us journalists, especially, you know, with our career field and future journalists as well?
Well, I think that this is a really important issue, especially now in the sense that getting any news that is important to the people to be able to hear that uncensored and with all of the information and get it out to public, even without censorship.
Absolutely. Now, do you know if this is possibly could butt heads with censorship? Whether, you know, a big popular case was the Hazelwood versus Kohlmeyer case, you know, being actually from the St. Louis area. So I'm pretty familiar with that case. It was over at a local high school. A student did an article about teen pregnancy. Do you think stuff like that could possibly be back in the schools? You know, students will have more freedom and colleges will have more freedom to write about what they want.
Yeah, I think that I understand that administrations might be worried about students writing about touchier issues like that, but like one of my interviewees said that he expressed that just because they have more freedom doesn't mean that they're going to be overly critical or anything. It's just that they will still be dedicated to covering it in just as a manner as any of the other stories.
Awesome. Now, with this act being passed and everything, do you think this could possibly have a chance to even overturn some Supreme Court cases?
Yeah, it will. It will, in essence, kind of overturn the Hazelwood and Kohlmeyer case. Actually, the plaintiff in that case, Casey Kohlmeyer, actually testified for the bill in one of the hearings. So that's interesting.
Wow. So, did you get to interview him by chance at all? Or?
No.
No. Awesome. And is he pretty still involved with the case at all, or involved with journalism?
I am not entirely sure, but I interviewed Bob Berglund, who is a co-author of the bill, and he mentioned that they'd gained some support from her and hear from her.
Now, what do you think could happen from here on out with this bill being passed? Do you think it will be an immediate action, or is it going to take a couple, maybe you need to come with a statute, like a ordinance or something that will cut in place of it, or could you see it possibly getting passed this time?
I'm not entirely sure, but Mr. Berlin was very confident in that this might be the year that it finally gets passed because they're ahead of schedule in going through all the committees and House of Representatives and things so far. So there's much higher chance of them getting it all the way approved this year.
Awesome. Now, what else? Now it says the bill will also prohibit administrations with the Tinker Standard. Can you explain the Tinker Standard a little bit?
Well, pretty much it means that students they will be uncensored. They will be able to write what they need to write and what they want, but so long as it's not untruthful or an invasion of privacy or any kind of libel.
Well, of course. Now, do you think that'll affect with opinion pieces at all with students, or I know here at the Missouri we used to have the blotter, and I know that always causes a stir on campus and especially social media on Twitter. Do you think those things will still be okay, or?
You know, I can't entirely say. With an additional freedom, obviously there is a little more of a risk for things, but I still think that so long as the journalists take the responsibility well, it'll be good.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to add about?
No, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, of course, and just keep reading the Missouri, and Abby's got some awesome stories, and come back, stay tuned on KZLX and KNWT. We'll be right back after a short little break.
Welcome back into the story behind the story, live from Student Media Day from the Student Union. I'm Devin Albert, the sports director at KZLX, and I'm joined by Northwest Missouri assistant sports editor Joseph Andrews. And Joe, your story this week is about Justin Pitts. What's kind of the severity of his injury? I know he has a turf toe problem right now. What's the severity of his injury that you heard from Coach McCollum?
So overall, as of Tuesday afternoon when we spoke with Coach McCollum at the media luncheon, he kind of said that Pitts is progressing, but he didn't really know when he was going to be back, whether he's back for that Pitt State game tonight. But he did mention really that whether they have him or not, they'll be fine.
Yeah, because turf toe is kind of a weird injury. It's not something you just get over with overnight. It's kind of a lingering thing that could affect him into the future. So if he's either limited or can't go at all, who are some guys in this Northwest team that you expect to step up in his absence?
You know, the one thing that McCollum really emphasizes is really that Justin Pitts isn't that team. It's really everybody. Right now, they're running Chris Ibuendow at point guard, which is crazy when you look at his height. And then really, who else steps in? It's just kind of a night-to-night type thing. They really do have that set where really anybody can come onto the floor at any given moment.
Yeah, they got a lot of flexibility there. Wittes and Doherty last Saturday against Washburn really led them to the victory there. And, of course, Endow, you said, the 6'7" forward out of Norway, playing a lot of point now. So he's a really big key guy for him. And tonight they got Pitt State, who's 14-10 on the year. Head coach Kim Anderson, who used to coach in Central Missouri for 12 years, won a national championship there, was at University of Missouri the last 3 years. What style of play does he bring to the table here against Northwest tonight?
You know, Coach McCollum really emphasized that Pitt State runs a really in-depth and just really competitive offense. They really bring something a little different that he feels Northwest doesn't see as much. He kind of compared it to more of a NBA-style mentality, which Pitt State is running down there.
And it's a pink-out game night, 5:30 for the women, 7:30 for the men. We will go to Saturday versus Missouri Southern. This team has really struggled versus the Lions. They're 7-9 versus them since 2009, the regular season. It's going to be senior day. Why does Missouri Southern give Northwest so much issues over the past few years?
I think really is just that, like Missouri Southern's been like there in that top, doing that top mentality type thing, and really Coach McCollum emphasized that they're really consistent. Yeah, they're one of the most consistent teams in the conference from game to game. Yeah, yes, they do go out and one game they'll beat Northwest, but then one game they'll drop a game that they really shouldn't. Yeah. But he mentioned that's just one of the things that makes the MIAA such a good conference.
Yeah, they got C.J. Carr and Elijah Clark. Look out for them on Saturday. As I said, it's senior day. Women at 1:30, they'll be honoring Tanya Meyer and Melee Tuapati. And then for the men's game, they're honoring 4 seniors, Xavier Kurth, Chris Ibuendow, Brett Doherty, and, of course, Justin Pitts, D2 Player of the Year last year. Last year won the Bevo Francis Award. He's a finalist for that award this year. Kind of talk about Pitts being a finalist for that award, Final 50.
I think it just really speaks to the impact that Pitts has on not only Northwest Missouri State, but the Division II basketball.
He's having a down year. He's still a finalist for a big award.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'd consider it a down year. Justin Pitts is being Justin Pitts. He's had those few obstacles with the couple of injuries he's had, but otherwise he's just really causing the same impact on the court that he has.
Yeah, he lets the game come. If he's not shooting well, he'll dish the ball off and get other guys involved. He's got plenty of shooters out there. With the guys he's already named, plus Hawkins and Welty can also shoot the 3-ball really well. So they're a team that's very deep, and this year Pitts, if he just does his thing, they'll be just fine. And, of course, the regional rankings, Northwest came out in the first one, the first of 3 rankings released before the final rankings. They keep number 1 in the region right now, in line to host. What are your thoughts on that? What does McCollum kind of say about? I know he's on the committee. He wouldn't give you guys anything early on, but what does McCollum say about being on the committee?
Yeah, you know, he kind of walked us through the impact of what goes through in making those decisions. Really, it's based on that schedule. And you look at Northwest schedule. They've beat number 1 Lincoln Memorial. They've beat Northern State, who is the number 2 seed in the region. And they've also gone out and had that impact and strong finishes also against some of the top MIAA programs, Washburn, Central Missouri, and stuff like that. And
they have another chance against Missouri Southern on Saturday to avenge one of their 2 losses on the year. So Northwest's team is in great position. They got 4 regular season games left in the MIAA tournament. So plenty of room for improvement still with this team as they look to go to the last 4 games. They got, of course, Pitt State tonight, Missouri Southern on Saturday, next week versus Lincoln and Lindenwood before the MIAA tournament down in Kansas City. What do you expect out of this team? I know Coach McCollum, you talked to him a lot. Some of the other guys, what do they expect out of each other going into some of these games against high-quality teams?
I talked to Joey Wittis at the press conference too, and he really said their mentality right now is taking it that one game at a time, but also knowing that they need to realize some of the mistakes, some of the stuff they need to clean up over time. Last week, that Emporia State game, closer than it probably should have, and I think Washburn ended up being a 6-point game too.
Yeah.
But really, they just want to go in, clean up those overall mistakes from game to game, and hopefully finish out strong.
Yep, so I want to remind you can catch the last 2 home regular season basketball games on 106.7 FM or the TuneIn Radio app. Just search KZLX. So I want to thank you for tuning in to KZLX and KNWT Channel 8. We will see you next week on The Story Behind the Story.